Hey, this is Anthony Upchurch doing a video for EDCI 540, Characteristics and Education of Gifted Students. This assignment is for the character analysis. What we were supposed to do is watch a movie and then relate that movie back to what we've been talking about in class. So I saw the list of movies. I kind of decided to do my own thing though. I went ahead and watched 8 Mile. 8 Mile is about a guy who admittedly is out of school, so he's out of the educational establishment, but he pursues kind of rapping within his community, trying to make a name for himself, be it locally or through a record deal. The reason why I chose it and not maybe a movie where there is like an actual student who is receiving education is because I thought it was a great kind of demonstration of how raw talent can change into actual giftedness per the theories that we've been talking about in class. Let's go on. So I guess if you really wanted to make it about education, we could say that he is a student in the School of Hard Knocks who has been recognized as potentially gifted in rapping and has surrounded himself by a supportive network of friends and a couple maybe well-placed peers who are trying to help him make the most of this soon, what shows up to be a gift. So, I mean, if you wanted to relate it that way, that's how. Never mind this part here, it's kind of bothering me, but it's part of the stand that I have the phone set up on. So if you're like me, here I can make it look like my arm and then we won't know better. There we go. Okay. So the first question was, how did this movie show myths or stereotypes related to gifted students? Well, it reflects mostly positive stereotypes, and it does break a few too. For one, B Rabbit is his name, for Bunny Rabbit, played by rapper Eminem. B Rabbit is underprivileged, not privileged. So he comes from Detroit. He lives on the wrong side of what is known as 8 Mile Road. So on the one side that he lives on, it's predominantly African American, lower socioeconomic status, things like that. Whereas on the other side of 8 Mile Road, predominantly white, fewer problems. So he breaks the traditional stereotype by not being privileged. He is creative. He's somewhat reasonable. He serves kind of, if not the voice of reason with his friends, he definitely serves as kind of like the what the heck is going on here? Like, is this really where we need to be? He serves as that voice. He is white, so I mean you have that traditional stereotype of gifted students that white males basically. So he is white, so he does kind of fit a mainstream, off-the-cuff, subconscious view of gifted. Though in the rap world, or like on his side of the tracks, that's kind of viewed as a disadvantage. So he gets into many rap battles, and the main topic of conversation for the battles is, what is this white boy doing here? So clearly his skin tone is doing him no favors, just like we would say in a gifted STEM class. While it would be much less antagonistic, the question may arise like, hey, what is this black kid from the wrong side of the tracks? It's surprising that he's here. So you see, it's an interesting flip on that one, which is interesting. So he is pitted against a rapper from a rival crew called Leaders of the Free World. And what's funny is he actually, so it's the final rap battle. They flip a coin to see who's going to go first. B Rabbit opts to go first. And so instead of waiting for Papa Doc, who's the antagonist in this story, instead of waiting for him to like tear him down, like, oh, you're this white boy, you live in a trailer park, I beat you up, a friend of mine slept with your girlfriend. Like, instead of like waiting for him to kind of tear him down, what he does is he tears himself down, leaving Papa Doc with nothing to say. And so, a fun story, Papa Doc ends up not being able to rap back, and B-Rabbit wins kind of by default. It was a good scene though, like it's not like he won and shouldn't have, like it was a pretty good rap. So what we have there is quick on your feet, mentally flexible, able to intuit the future, and then able to use that intuition to achieve an end goal that nobody really saw coming, which kind of fits into the myth or stereotypical thinking of a gifted student. And he is internally motivated. He overcomes challenges like choking during the first, not literally, but like he had on the first rap battle, kind of the opening scene of the movie, he goes to respond to the rapper's disses, if you will, and chokes. Like he can't say anything. Essentially, he puts himself in the same situation he put the antagonist in at the end. So again, we see a role reversal. There kind of seems to be a lot of the "you thought I was, but I'm actually" going on in the movie. That seems to be a recurring theme. All right. So he's creative, he's a wordsmith, he exercises strong improvisation, and again, he's good at turning tables. He's sensitive, he worries about his friend. He's one of the only people who understands that when his friend Cheddar takes a gun out during a street confrontation and waves it around, puts it back in his pants, and then shoots himself in the leg, he's one of the only ones who actually worries about his safety instead of like kind of the pettiness that led to the gun battle, like the gun being waved around. Or even the opportunity to mock Cheddar for, shooting himself in the leg. It was kind of dumb. But, you know, whereas the friends all want to kind of like pick this as something to mock him for, he understands that this may not be the best time. So he is sensitive. Also, he has a sister, Lily, that he kind of has a soft spot for. So we again kind of see some sensitivity there. And he does have a sense of justice. At one point, he's at work in the bumper factory, and a impromptu kind of like rap scene picks up where like one girl starts rapping about how unhappy she is at work, and the other guy starts rapping about how she should be quiet, and then starts picking on this one guy who I guess is an out-of-the-closet homosexual, and then B-Rabbit comes in and out-raps the second guy, saying, what I appreciated was, at least he has the courage to be out of the closet. I'm not seeing any courage coming from you for this easy mockery. So that was cool. He does, then again, that demonstrates kind of the sense of justice that we've talked about that is often found with gifted students. So what kind of theories do we have in play? Well, we've got Gagne and Sternberg and a little bit of Tannenbaum are kind of your three major players in this movie's expression of giftedness. So with Sternberg, he finds that giftedness is comprised of many parts, just like most of the theorists do. And so of them, it's excellence, rarity, productivity, demonstrability, and value. So just quickly, I'll go through and find some examples on how B-Rabbit demonstrates these traits. So excellence, of course, he's a great rapper, excellent wordsmith. He can find rhymes out of anything. Quick on his feet. Really, it's a good time. Rarity, being a white boy doesn't have anything to do with it, but his gift is rare, especially given he doesn't necessarily, coming from Anglo-Saxon culture, he isn't steeped in that highly verbal, melodic kind of wordplay that may be more prevalent in an African-American household. Also, which is rare, he uses self-deprecation as a kind of literary technique, if you will, which isn't really to be found in a atmosphere that was really self-aggrandizing. So whereas others are going to talk about how little you are and how big they are, he talks about how little he is, but it doesn't matter because he's still better than you. So, I mean, that's a novel way, so that's rare. His vocabulary is excellent. So, and not even like given his socioeconomic environment, like his just flexibility and ability to kind of manipulate meaning and use rhythm, like he's actually technically extremely proficient, like to the point of it being rare. Productivity, works on a demo. He performs in the rap battles. He jokes around with his friends. He is internally motivated, and for no other reason than to produce does he produce. So that shows kind of that trait. It's demonstrable. He does it in front of an audience. He does it with his friends. He gains a reputation for it. It's a known, demonstrated skill. And then value. So does his skill have the kind of value that would give it like a gift status? Yes. In his community, rap is seen as a, not mainstream, what's the word I'm looking for? It's seen as an accepted means of self-expression. He's extremely talented in this means of self-expression. He not only has, he has all of these traits, so when he delivers his gift, not only is the gift of value, but is of great quality, which kind of makes it good for him. So that was Sternberg. Gagne, kind of what I wanted to talk about with Gagne was how the streets nurtured his talent into a gift. So he had natural abilities. He was creative. He was original. And this comes from, a lot of this information comes from, you can find it on, there's a class-wide Google Doc that has information on these theorists on it. And I pulled most of my framework for this part of the presentation from those, pictographs basically, on the Google Doc. So for Gagne, how the streets nurtured his talent into a gift. Well, he had natural abilities. So Gagne is going to say that creativity is originality, retrieval, and fluency, all of which he has when it comes to words or kind of verbal expression. He's good at socio-effectiveness. So he's got intelligence, he's perceptive. He can communicate with empathy, not necessarily like, oh my God, your feelings are hurt, I feel so bad for you, pat, pat, pat. But I understand what kind of communication is the best to get the point across that I want to get across. I understand how to garner what reaction I want from these people. I'm going to do what I need to do. So he had that kind of interpersonal, socio-affective skill going for him. And also along the same line, he was able to practice or exercise influence. So he bounced back. Like I said, he failed totally in front of this group of people at the beginning of the movie, and then he goes on to reach just astounding success at the end. So the ability to bounce back in front of an audience that saw you fail and kind of wanted you to shows that he's able to, in a positive way, manipulate a crowd. Intrapersonal, so he has motivation, he has interest, he has self-management, and of course he has personality. So he checks all of those. Again, I've already talked about how he was internally motivated. He had the interest, obviously, that he was motivated to deepen. He had the self-management necessary. What I liked, so he was in trouble at his job for being late, and then he got his act together and was asking for more shifts, but the guy was like, why would I give you more shifts when you're always late? So he stopped being late. And then the rap battle at the end of the movie coincided with an extra shift that he had just gotten. So he got the gay man who had been made fun of earlier in the movie to cover his shift. So again, socio-effective. I know how to make friends, network, kind of get done in a social atmosphere what I need to get done. So he had gotten him to cover his shift so that he could do the rap battle, and then he wins the rap battle and his friends are all like, hey, let's go celebrate, and he's like, no, I have to get back to work so that I can save money, move out of my mom's house, my mom's not a good influence, and get my career back on track. And then his buddy, the guy who runs the rap battles, was like, hey, run the rap battles with me. And he's like, no, I can't. It's not what I'm doing right now. I need to focus on me. And so, again, we have that self-management. And then he's got a very outgoing personality. He's distinguishable from his peers. He's not stupid. He's not uptight. He's just very goal-oriented. He knows what he's doing, and he does it his own way. As far as environmental goes, so his milieu, I don't know how you say it in English. In French, it's milieu. So again, it's the wrong side of the tracks, but, and we'll get into this later, but he's able to use what would seem like a degrading kind of, if not degrading, then degrading kind of environment. He knows how to use that to his advantage. We'll get there soon, but again, that's accounting for Gagné's factor milieu. Provisions or activities, so he is offered ample opportunity to engage in the activities to turn his talent into a gift. Rapping with friends, the rap battles, the potential record deal that he has with a friend, we'll get there, and yeah, just opportunities, basically. That was about it. There was no and. Then events. Rap battles, and then we'll go into, when I talk about Tannenbaum, which is coming up next, we'll talk more about those events. So, both Gagné and Tannenbaum talk about chance. What I liked about Tannenbaum earlier this semester, when I was doing my own research on Tannenbaum, I found a really good little tidbit that was gifted kids, or people in general, are going to receive opportunities by chance just like anyone else. The distinguisher is that these gifted people know what to do with their opportunities. So how, like, which opportunities to take and then how to make the most of them. Okay, so here's a series of events that, of course, he didn't know was going to happen, so we're going to call them chance. Of course, they were influenced by background, by also, I mean, you can analyze these events and pick them into pieces all day long, but still, the fact remains that he didn't wake up knowing that this was going to go on. It went on, and then he knew what to do with it. So he went to the studio to record a demo, positive taking of a positive opportunity. This opportunity turns negative when he finds the friend that he thought was going to hook him up with the record deal, he catches him in a compromising position with B Rabbit's boyfriend. So B Rabbit catches his friend with B Rabbit's girlfriend. So of course that would have been a positive, like he goes up to the studio thinking, yeah, I'm going to record this, these guys are in town, I'm going to knock this out. And then of course he walks in and this is happening, so that turns negative. It turns back positive when he realizes that instead of counting on his friends, who are all in it for themselves anyway, to help him with his own career, he should probably also just be in it for himself, and get done what he needs to get done when he needs to get it done, instead of waiting around for other people to maybe provide him with opportunities. This chance, so what he does is then he's like, oh, I'm going to do it myself. He engages in the second rap battle, so he goes back and of course redeems himself because America loves an underdog. So Tannenbaum and Gagné also focus on their environment. Now, B Rabbit had both positive and negatives in his environment, and then this ties back into chance. We'll get there. So positive, he did have supportive friends. The one guy tried to get him a record deal and then slept with his girlfriend, but tried to get him a record deal. So his other friend on the other side was like, hey, you should do these rap battles. And there was a little bit of like pull on both those sides. The one guy was like, you're not going to go anywhere with a rap battle, here's a record deal. And the one guy was like, you need respect from your peers, here, do these battles. He ends up going for the battles, but as a step towards a record deal. A good quote from the movie is the friend who's trying to get him the record deal says, hey, we all need to be pushed. And that's kind of the supportive network of friends that you need in your environment to push a talent into a gift. I like Tannenbaum for a few reasons. One, I studied him for class, so of course, like, I know more about him than the others, so I'm going to be a little more partial to him. But also, I like that he makes the variables independent. What I like about, whereas a lot of the other theorists are going to like interrelate the variables, I like the idea of independent variables per that star, that infographic that you can easily search online. But what I like about Gagne is the idea of turning a pre-existing talent into a actual gift by a kind of a process that goes through various factors, including chance in the environment. But negative parts of his environment were there is a little bit of despair and a little bit of hopelessness just in his social environment, in his visual space, things like that. The competition in the rap battles is antagonistic. It's very like, you ain't nothing, I'm better than you, and like it does kind of seek to tear you down. And he does come from an unstable family. But the question is, though, is this despair and helplessness, for example, and this is a great metaphor for it all. They go to an abandoned house, and not accidentally, but they go to an abandoned house with the intent to burn it down, and so then they burn it down. And then standing in front of this abandoned house that was really junking up the neighborhood and served as a haven for crime, while watching it burn down, they said, man, isn't this pretty? And so kind of that's a very concrete way of expressing that the ugliness that he was surrounded by was actually his inspiration to create something beautiful out of it. I mean, just the way that he uses words and rhythm, I mean, it really is something of beauty, and if you don't find beauty in it, then you can at least find value in the technical proficiency. Okay, so what kind of positive traits do we see about a gifted individual through this? Again, understanding that the assignment was supposed to focus on students, we're going to say that he was a student in the School of Hard Knocks, and we're just going to frame it that way because really this is a great study in the development of giftedness. One, he's resilient, he has a sense of humor, he's persistent, choking, winning, he's creative, he's a social leader, he's caring with his friend, his sister. So again, many of the stereotypes and myths that he embodies also turn around to become those positive traits that we hope to nurture in our gifted youth, hopefully, so that by the time they're in their 20s, they're not kind of fumbling around trying to figure it out for themselves. All right, so what's this mean for gifted education overall? Well, what I learned, kind of what I was able to pull from this, is that the milieu isn't as important as teaching students how to take advantage of the opportunities included in the environment. So, I mean, essentially teach kids how to be a fungus. There is waste and rot all around you. Learn how to use that waste and rot to grow. I mean, it's not where you are, it's what you do with where you are. And so teaching children that kind of creative thinking, that resilience, would get them really far in life. And I mean, I get that like these citizens were made stronger by their antagonistic relationship with each other, but you don't have to do it that way. That way you're not shooting yourself in a leg in a street argument, waving a gun around. And that way, you know, you can develop your talent without a crowd of people booing you off stage, just because it's not really a thing that you need. Like, that's not like a necessary step in developing it. Failure is so totally necessary in developing your talent, but having your personal failure be encouraged by other people who want that same success is not necessary. So while he was able to turn that around, I think that in it, we can use schools as a controlled environment to not kind of make it so, like, harsh. I liked recognizing the social value of a talent as being part of that talent. So, like, if you're really good at, like, making houses of cards. I mean, okay, cool, let's actually just relate it to the movie. He was really good at rhyming. I mean, cool. But what did he do with that? He tapped into shared experiences with his community members. He created melodic chains of words that kind of got people like in their sensory kind of going, like dancing and stuff. He showed the value of a strong, flexible vocabulary. I mean, there's a lot of, there was social value put on what would otherwise be a meaningless trait, like, oh, I can rhyme, like, ooh. It showed me the value of a supportive network, be it teachers and parents, be it friends, be it coaches, be it a mixture of all of the above. He had a less than desirable family situation, but his friends were all there, and they were all pushing him. And again, this is the School of Hard Knocks, not an actual institution of school, so the players are going to be a little bit different. But that did show me that you'll be able to maximize your gift if you have people there who are encouraging you. And then, of course, resilience. This whole thing has been about bouncing back, so there's no need to really delve into how resilience played out in the movie. But like I said, you really can't achieve much if you're not willing to fail, but it's what you do after you fail that really matters. So, yeah, that is my presentation for 8 Mile concerning the character analysis for characteristics and education of gifted children. Hope you enjoyed, and thanks a lot. Bye.